in Washington, D.C. after being at the G20 Summit protests in Toronto. The G20 Summit protests were effectively voicing why we were there, protesting the G20, which is an institution that needs to be disbanded, until Sunday when I was arrested. I was very violently arrested from a peaceful rally. In fact, we were singing Kumbaya, and police basically ran into the crowd, snatched me. They went ahead and dragged me and threw me on the ground once, and then an officer picked me up, pulled me behind the police line, threw me on the ground again. All of this is caught on videotape by some very wonderful videographers, and it was actually broadcast on CNN and CBC, which is one of the largest news outlets in Toronto. Also, photographs of me appeared in the New York Times, on the front page of the Toronto Star, and a number of different news outlets. What all of that news footage didn't show was that after I was very violently snatched by police, they threw me into the back of an unmarked van. There were 4 officers in the van. I believe that they were plainclothes officers. However, none of them identified themselves as officers. I was sat on by one of them. I was lying on my back. I was strangled, and then when I didn't lose consciousness, the officer who had tried to strangle me actually punched me in the head at least once. So after that, I was very lucky to escape sexual assault. I actually, when I had been strangled, urine seeped into my clothing, and I believe that that's why they did not sexually assault me. They were calling me a variety of very sexually charged, derogatory terms, which I do not want to repeat out loud. They were horrible, and I thought that I was personally, I'm very offended by those terms. One of the things, after that, they brought me into the station. There's a lot more to the story, but they brought me into the station, and I wanted to do this verbal blog post for a very specific reason. And that reason is that although I wanted to let you all know, all of you who are watching this, that while all these things happened to me, they really did strangle me, they really did punch me in the head, I am not a victim. And I am someone who is basically, I have love in my heart. And that love protected me. This might sound a little bit sappy, but you know, someone can only hurt you when you let them under your skin. And you know, this is what happens when we're in relationships. This is what happens when you're with friends. You know, that you can let them hurt you. I mean, it can happen. You can make yourself vulnerable to them, and they can hurt you. But I was not made vulnerable to the police. They can do whatever on the outside. They can try to break my bones, they can punch me in the head, they can try to break my will, but they are never going to get on the inside of my head, and they're never going to break my spirit. And I would hope that all of us, all 900 to 1,000 of us, the numbers vary, all 900 to 1,000 of us who were arrested at the G20 Summit protests in Toronto can remember the same thing. They cannot break our wills, and they can't break our spirits, because our spirits are stronger. Our spirits are stronger than their guns, their handcuffs, their prisons, and everything else. Their laws that are unjust, and they cannot break our spirits. We have to continue to fight for people who are suffering from injustices. And I'm talking about the indigenous women in Papua New Guinea who have recently had their government bow over, just roll over and let corporations come in and pollute their rivers. I am talking about Chilean farmers who are trying to defend their land against corporations coming in and trying to make it into a resort or something, and that have the support of the corrupt government. I'm talking about everyone from in all parts of the country, including us, G20 protesters. And they, as long as we resist their agenda of corporate globalization, as long as we resist, They are going to try to silence us. But we cannot be silenced. And I'm not going to be silenced. And this blog post is the first post in my ongoing non-victimization, in my ongoing, I guess you could say, healing. But basically, healing for me means justice, means that I make sure that justice is served upon the perpetrators. And I'm not just talking about the 4 thugs who might have a police badge and might not, who assaulted me. I'm talking about justice against the G20 who are perpetrating just as many crimes as those 4 thugs and hurting just as many people. More people, as a matter of fact, than were hurt in Toronto. And this is blog post number 1. Thank you for listening, and please continue to watch this space for further blog posts. Again, I'm Lacy MacAuley. I'm in Washington, D.C. Thank you.